The first time Minju Choi saw him, she was stealing Christmas lights from the dumpster behind Lombardi's Ristorante in Little Italy, Manhattan. Not the broken ones, the good ones still in their boxes, tossed out because some wise guy decided he wanted all white lights instead of multicolor. Her daughter Marian, 6 years old with eyes like midnight and a smile that could break your heart, stood watch by their rusted Honda Civic, her breath making little clouds in the December air. Minju had exactly $47 to her name, an eviction notice taped to their apartment door in Koreatown, and 3 more days until Christmas. She wasn't proud of dumpster diving, but pride doesn't keep the lights on or put presents under a tree you can't afford. She was elbow-deep in restaurant garbage, trying not to think about what the sticky substance on her jacket sleeve might be, when she heard the voice. Dangerous in the way a loaded gun is dangerous. Quiet until it's not. Those are my lights you're stealing, Bella. Minju froze, turned slowly, and looked up into the face of a man who belonged in old movies about New York, the kind where everyone ends up either rich or dead, usually both. He was tall, maybe 6'3", with dark hair touched with silver at the temples, a jawline that could cut glass, and a charcoal suit that probably cost more than she'd made all year working double shifts at the Korean grocery store before it closed. His eyes were the color of espresso, and they were looking at her with something between amusement and curiosity. Behind him stood 2 men built like refrigerators, their hands clasped in front of them, definitely packing heat under their overcoats. "Hi." Minju straightened, clutching the box of lights to her chest like a shield. "I'm sorry. I didn't know they were. I'll put them back." "Mommy." Marian's voice cut through the cold air, high and worried. She'd left her post by the car. The man's eyes shifted to the little girl, then back to Minju. Something changed in his expression. Softened, maybe, though calling anything about this man soft seemed wrong. "You got a kid. Please." Minju stepped between him and Marianne instinctively. "Please, I'll leave. We'll go. Just, she doesn't need to see anything. Before we go on, we'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. We have viewers all over the world and we love connecting with our global family. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button because tomorrow we're dropping another story you absolutely cannot miss." The man, she'd later learn his name was Dominic Santoro, a capo in the Gambino family, a man whose word carried the weight of life and death in 5 boroughs, looked at her for a long moment. Then he did something she didn't expect. He laughed. Not a cruel laugh. A real one. "Take the lights," he said. "Take whatever you need from that dumpster. My cousin's an idiot who wouldn't know Christmas spirit if it bit him in the ass." He paused, studying her face with those dark eyes. "You from around here?" "Koreatown." The word came out before she could stop it. "Long way to come for garbage lights." He pulled a money clip from his pocket, thick with hundreds, and peeled off 5 bills. Held them out. "Merry Christmas." Minju stared at the money like it might bite her. $500. More than she'd see in a month. "I can't. You got a kid. Pride's expensive. Take it." "I don't want charity." "Good. Because I don't give charity." Dominic stepped closer, and she could smell his cologne, something expensive and woody that probably had an Italian name she couldn't pronounce. "You need money. I need someone who can cook. My social club couple blocks from here, we're doing a Christmas Eve thing for the neighborhood." The caterer bailed. "You know how to cook?" "Ah yes, I can cook. Korean food. Korean, American, whatever you need. Then you're hired. Christmas Eve 6 in the morning to 6 at night. I'll pay you $2,000. You bring your kid if you need to. Deal." $2,000. Minju's mind raced. That was rent, groceries, presents for Marian, maybe even enough left over to buy time while she found real work. But nothing in life came free, especially not from men in $10,000 suits flanked by enforcers. "What's the catch?" Dominic smiled, And it was the kind of smile that made women stupid and men scared. No catch. I need food, you need money. This is business. You do good work, maybe I send more business your way. I got friends in restaurants all over the city. You want the job or not? Marian tugged at Minju's jacket. Mommy, that man is nice. He has kind eyes. And God help her, he did. Under all that danger and power, there was something kind in Dominic Santoro's eyes when he looked at her daughter. Okay, Minju said. Deal. That was 3 days ago. Now Minju stood in the back kitchen of Santoro's social club on Mulberry Street, surrounded by more food than she'd seen in one place since before her husband died. Dominic had made good on his word, given her a budget that made her dizzy, told her to make enough to feed 200 people, and left her alone to work. Marianne sat at a small table in the corner, coloring in a book one of the old Italian men had brought her, completely oblivious to the fact that this building probably housed enough illegal activity to fill a season of boardwalk empire. Minju was preparing her grandmother's bulgogi, American mac and cheese, Italian wedding soup, and about 6 other dishes when Dominic walked in. It was 4 in the afternoon on Christmas Eve, and he looked tired in a way that money couldn't fix. Smells good, he said, leaning against the doorframe. It'll be ready on time. Minju didn't stop chopping. Keeping busy kept her from thinking too hard about where she was, who she was working for, and why a made man in the Gambino family gave a damn about a struggling Korean widow from the wrong side of town. I know it will. He walked over to where Marianne was coloring, crouched down to her level. Hey, princess. What are you drawing? A Christmas tree. Marianne held up the picture proudly. But we don't have one at home because Mommy says they're too expensive and we have to wait until next year when things are better. Minju's hands stilled on the cutting board. The shame that crawled up her spine was hot and familiar. Dominic looked at the picture for a long moment. Then he stood, pulled out his phone, made a call. Paulie. I need you to do something for me. There's a Korean grocery store on 32nd Street. No, I don't know which one, figure it out. I want you to find out where the owner lives. Then I want you to go to that apartment with the nicest Christmas tree you can find. Real tree, not that fake shit. Ornaments, lights, the whole deal. And presents. Lots of them. Yeah, for a kid. A girl about 6. I don't give a fuck what they are, just make sure she'll like them. Get it done by tonight. He hung up. Minju's knife clattered to the cutting board. What did you just do? Made a phone call. You can't, I didn't ask for that. I know. That's why I'm doing it. Dominic met her eyes, and there was something fierce in his gaze. You work hard. You take care of your kid. You don't ask for handouts. That's the kind of person who deserves a Christmas tree. I don't understand you. Minju's voice cracked. Why do you care? For a long moment, Dominic didn't answer. When he did, his voice was quieter, rougher. I had a sister once. She had a kid. My nephew. They died in a car accident 15 years ago. Drunk driver, wrong place, wrong time. The kid was 6. Same age as yours. He paused. I see your girl and I see him. And I think about all the Christmases he never got to have. So yeah, I care. Sue me. The kitchen went silent except for the bubbling of soup on the stove. Minju felt tears prickling at her eyes and blinked them back hard. I'm sorry about your sister. Me too. Dominic cleared his throat, straightened his suit jacket. Anyway, you got work to do. I'll be in the front if you need anything. He was almost to the door when Minju spoke again. Dominic. He turned. Thank you. Something passed between them then. Something warm and dangerous and completely inappropriate given who he was and who she was and the gulf of circumstance between them. But it was there, undeniable as gravity. Don't mention it, Bella. And I mean that literally. Nobody hears about this, capice? I got a reputation to maintain. He left. Minju went back to cooking, but her hands were shaking, and it wasn't from the cold. The Christmas Eve dinner was a success. Neighborhood families poured through the doors of the social club. Old Italian grandmothers who kissed her cheeks and called her Bella Ragazza, young fathers who juggled toddlers and thanked her for the food, kids who ran around like it was the best day of their lives. Dominic moved through the crowd like a king among his people, shaking hands, kissing cheeks, slipping envelopes to families Minju suspected needed the money as badly as she did. This was his neighborhood. These were his people. And for all his danger and violence, and she wasn't naive enough to think there wasn't blood on those well-manicured hands, he took care of them. By 8 o'clock, Minju was exhausted, her feet aching, her clothes splattered with food. Marianne had fallen asleep on a couch in Dominic's office upstairs, covered with someone's jacket. The last of the families were filtering out, and Minju was cleaning the kitchen when Dominic appeared with an envelope. "Your payment, plus a bonus. You did good work." Minju wiped her hands on her apron and took the envelope, opened it. Inside was $3,000. "This is too much." "No, it's not. You fed 200 people and they all left happy. That's worth every penny." Dominic leaned against the counter, watching her. "You got plans for Christmas? Sleep. Maybe take Marianne to see the lights at Rockefeller Center if she's not too tired." Minju tucked the money into her pocket carefully. "You. Same thing I do every Christmas. Sit in my apartment, drink expensive scotch, and pretend I don't hear my mother's voice telling me I should settle down and give her grandkids." He said it like a joke, but there was loneliness underneath. Minju recognized it because she wore the same loneliness every day. "That sounds depressing." "It is." Dominic was quiet for a moment. "You ever think about what it would be like to have someone again?" The question hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning. Minju thought about her husband, David, an American teacher she'd met when she first came to New York, who'd loved her fiercely and died stupidly young from an aneurysm that gave no warning. She thought about the empty side of her bed, the conversations she had with no one, the weight of raising a child alone in a city that chewed up and spit out people like her every day. "Every day," she admitted. "But wanting something doesn't make it possible." "Why not?" "Because I'm a broke widow with a kid and you're—" She gestured at him, at the social club, at everything he represented. "You're you. We don't live in the same world." "Maybe not." Dominic stepped closer, and Minju's breath caught. He was too close, near enough that she could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes, smell that expensive cologne, feel the heat radiating off his body. "But for tonight, we're both standing in the same kitchen. Both lonely. Both wanting something we're too scared to ask for." "Dominic, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me you don't feel this." She couldn't. Because she did feel it. This magnetic pull, this impossible attraction to a man who should terrify her but instead made her feel safer than she had in years. It was crazy, reckless, dangerous. "I should go," Minju whispered. "I should get Marianne and go home." "You should." But Dominic didn't move. Neither did she. When he kissed her, it was slow and deliberate and tasted like possibility. Minju's hands found his chest, felt his heart beating hard beneath the expensive fabric of his suit, and for just a moment she let herself fall into the fantasy of it, of being wanted, protected, chosen by someone powerful enough to keep the wolves at bay. Then reality crashed back in. She pulled away, breathing hard. "This can't happen." "Why not?" "Because I have a daughter. 'Cause you're what you are. Because this is insane. Some of the best things are insane." Dominic's thumb brushed her cheek, gentle despite the calluses she felt there. "I'm not asking you to marry me, Bella. I'm asking you to let me take care of you. You and your kid. Let me help." "I don't need help. Everybody needs help. And I got the resources to give it. I own a restaurant in Midtown, upscale Korean-Italian fusion place, real trendy bullshit. The head chef just quit. Job's yours if you want it. Full salary, benefits, apartment upstairs included." No strings. Well, he smiled. One string. You have dinner with me once a week. Let me get to know you properly. Minju stared at him. You're offering me a job, an apartment, and asking me out? All at once. I'm efficient. And I'm 43 years old. Too old to play games. Like you. I like your kid. I want to see where this goes. You want stability, I can give you that. What's the problem? The problem is I don't know if this is real or if you're just, she struggled for the word, collecting us. Like we're some project to make you feel better about the things you do. Dominic's expression hardened. You think I'm that shallow? I think you're used to getting what you want. And I think powerful men don't make offers like this unless there's something in it for them. You're right. There is something in it for me. He caught her hand, held it between both of his. I'm tired, Minju. Tired of coming home to an empty apartment. Tired of eating alone. Tired of pretending I don't want the things other men have. A woman who makes me laugh, a kid's voice in my home, something to live for besides this life. You're right that I'm used to getting what I want. But what I want is to see if maybe, just maybe, I could have something real. With you. The sincerity in his voice nearly broke her. And if it doesn't work, then you keep the job and the apartment anyway. I'm not a monster, whatever else I am. You work hard, you deserve security. Your kid deserves security. That doesn't change whether you want to date me or not. Minju looked at this man, this dangerous, complicated, surprisingly tender man, and made a choice that felt like stepping off a cliff. Okay. I'll take the job, the apartment, and, she swallowed hard, and dinner, once a week. We'll see what happens. Dominic's smile could have lit up Manhattan. Yeah. But Dominic, if you hurt my daughter, if you bring your world into her life in a way that scares her or puts her in danger, I will disappear so fast you'll never find us. Understand? Understood. And Minju, I promise you, on my sister's grave, on everything I hold sacred, I will never let anything happen to that little girl. Or to you. When he kissed her again, Minju let herself believe him. Christmas morning dawned cold and bright over Manhattan. Minju woke in her apartment in Koreatown, the one with the eviction notice that suddenly didn't matter anymore, to Marian's shriek of delight. She stumbled out of bed to find their living room transformed. A 6-foot Christmas tree stood in the corner, covered in lights and ornaments, with a pile of presents underneath that made her daughter's eyes go wide as moons. There was a note attached to one of the boxes, written in strong, slanted handwriting. Every kid deserves a Christmas. Every mother deserves not to worry. Merry Christmas, Bella. D. Minju sat on the floor in her pajamas and cried while Marian tore into presents, dolls and books and clothes and everything a little girl could want. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Polly tells me she liked the tree. Restaurant keys are being delivered this afternoon. First dinner is tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Wear something nice. And Minju, stop crying. You earned this. All of it. She laughed through her tears. Sent back. How did you know I was crying? Because I know you. See you tomorrow. 6 months later, Minju stood in the kitchen of Santoro's, the restaurant that was now somehow hers, plating a dish for the dinner rush. Upstairs, in the apartment with a view of the East River, Marianne was doing homework at the table where they ate dinner every night. Real dinners with vegetables and conversation and laughter. And tomorrow night, Dominic would come over like he did 3 times a week now, bringing wine and stories and that crooked smile that still made her heart race. It wasn't perfect. There were still moments when she woke up terrified that this was all a dream, that she'd blink and be back in that tiny apartment with the eviction notice. There were still whispers in the restaurant about who owned it, what Dominic really did, the danger that came with his name. Minju wasn't naive. She knew exactly what Dominic Santoro was, the empire he helped run, the violence he was capable of. She'd seen it once, when a rival crew tried to shake down the restaurant. Dominic had handled it with 3 phone calls and a quiet conversation in the back alley that ended with the other men leaving pale and shaking. But she also knew the man who sat on her couch and watched Disney movies with Marion. The man who taught her daughter Italian phrases and brought her flowers for no reason. The man who held Minju at night and whispered that she was the best thing that ever happened to him, and sounded like he meant it with every fiber of his being. "Ma'am," one of the line cooks interrupted her thoughts. "Table 6 is asking if you'll come out. They want to compliment the chef." Minju wiped her hands, smoothed her apron, and walked out into the dining room. It was packed tonight. Manhattan elite mixing with neighborhood regulars. Exactly the fusion Dominic had envisioned. At table 6 sat an older couple, well-dressed Italian. The man stood when he saw her, and something about his face struck her as familiar. "You're Minju," he said. It wasn't a question. "I am. I'm Antonio Santoro, Dominic's father." He gestured to the woman beside him. "This is his mother, Lucia. We wanted to meet the woman who's got our son acting like a human being for the first time in 20 years. Minju's heart jumped into her throat. She'd heard about Antonio Santoro, the boss of the family, the man who controlled organized crime from Brooklyn to the Bronx. And Lucia, the matriarch whose word carried almost as much weight. These weren't just Dominic's parents. These were the people who could decide with a word whether she belonged in this world or needed to disappear. "It's an honor to meet you," Minju managed. Lucia stood, took Minju's hands in hers. Her grip was strong, her eyes sharp and assessing. "My son tells me you have a daughter." "Marion." "Yes, ma'am." "And you're a widow." "Yes, ma'am." "Good. That means you understand loyalty. You understand what it means to protect your family." Lucia's gaze softened slightly. "Dominic's been alone too long. I was starting to think he'd die before he found someone worth his time. Then he tells me about this Korean woman who was stealing Christmas lights from a dumpster to make her daughter happy. Says she's got fire in her eyes and steel in her spine. Says she doesn't take shit from anybody, not even him. And I think, Madonna, maybe there's hope for the boy yet." Antonio chuckled. "What my wife is trying to say is welcome to the family. You make good food. You make Dominic happy. That's all we need to know." "I thank you." Minju felt tears prickling again and blinked them back. "I promise I'll take care of him." "Oh, sweetheart." Lucia patted her cheek. "We know you will. And he'll take care of you. That's what family does." The word hung in the air between them, family. Not just an offer of acceptance, but an invitation into something bigger, more complex, more dangerous and more protective than Minju had ever imagined. This was what it meant to be with Dominic, not just the man but everything he came from, everything he was part of. "Now," Antonio said, settling back into his chair, "Lucia tells me your bulgogi is the best in 5 boroughs. Let's see if she's right." Minju went back to the kitchen, her hands shaking with adrenaline and relief and something that felt dangerously like joy. She plated the best meal she'd ever made, and when she sent it out, she felt like she was sending a piece of herself. Proof that she belonged here, that she'd earned her place in this strange, complicated, violent, loving world. That night, after the restaurant closed, Dominic found her in the kitchen. "My parents were here." "I know. They told me. And your mother called me family." Dominic pulled her close, buried his face in her hair. "Good. Because I'm planning to make that official." Minju pulled back to look at him. "What?" He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket, opened it. Inside was a ring, emerald-cut diamond, simple and elegant and probably worth more than Minju had made in her entire life. "Marry me. Not because you need security or because I'm trying to collect you. Marry me because I love you. 'Cause I love your kid. Because I want to wake up next to you for the rest of my life and fall asleep knowing you're mine and I'm yours." Marry me because 6 months ago you were stealing Christmas lights from my dumpster, and now I can't imagine a day without you. Minju looked at the ring, at this man, at the impossible life he was offering. She thought about Marianne upstairs, safe and happy and loved. She thought about the restaurant that bore her food, her vision, her soul. She thought about the family, dangerous, complicated, fierce, that had opened its arms to her. She thought about the eviction notice she'd kept, tucked in a drawer, to remember where she came from. Yes, she said. Yes, I'll marry you. When Dominic kissed her, it tasted like Christmas lights and bulgogi and expensive wine and everything good that had ever happened to her. Tasted like coming home. They were married in a small ceremony at a Catholic church in Little Italy 6 months later, with Marianne as flower girl and half the Gambino family in attendance. Minju wore a dress that was both Korean hanbok and Western gown, honoring both parts of who she was. Dominic wore a suit that probably cost more than most people's cars and looked at her like she'd hung the moon. At the reception, held at the restaurant that was now theirs together, Minju watched Marianne dance with Dominic's father while Lucia taught her Italian and fed her too much cake. She watched her new husband move through the crowd. Her husband, God, she'd never get used to that. Shaking hands and accepting congratulations and radiating the kind of contentment she'd never seen in him before. You look happy. The voice beside her belonged to Polly, the enforcer who'd delivered her Christmas tree all those months ago. He was huge and terrifying and had a surprising soft spot for Marianne, who called him Uncle Polly and made him melt. I am happy, Minju admitted. Good. Boss deserves it. You both do. Polly clinked his glass against hers. To family. To family, Minju echoed. Later, when the party was winding down and Marianne was asleep upstairs in the apartment that was now officially their home, Dominic found Minju on the balcony overlooking Mulberry Street. He wrapped his arms around her from behind, rested his chin on her shoulder. You know what today is? He asked. Our wedding day. Besides that, it's exactly 1 year since I caught you stealing my Christmas lights. Minju laughed, the sound bright in the night air. God, a year. Feels like a lifetime. Feels like not long enough. Dominic turned her to face him. I got you something. Wedding present. You already gave me a wedding present. The restaurant. Car. He pressed a finger to her lips. Shoo. This is different. He pulled out a folded piece of paper. It's the deed to your old apartment building. The one where we met. Bought it. And I'm having it renovated into affordable housing. Good apartments, fair rent for families like yours. People who work hard and deserve a chance. I want you to run it. Make sure nobody ever gets an eviction notice for being a week late on rent because they had to choose between that and feeding their kid. Minju stared at the deed through tears. Dominic! You saved me, Bella. You and Marianne. You gave me a reason to be something more than what I was. This is me trying to be the man you see when you look at me. The man I want to be. For you. For her. For all the families out there who just need someone to give a damn. Minju kissed him then, hard and fierce and full of all the words she couldn't say. When they broke apart, she whispered, I love you. God help me, I love you so much. God already helped you. He made you steal my Christmas lights. Dominic grinned. Best theft that ever happened to me. They stood there on the balcony, wrapped in each other, looking out over Little Italy. Below them, the city hummed with life. Car horns and voices and music spilling from restaurants. Somewhere in Koreatown, in an apartment building that would soon house families who needed hope, a single mother was probably whispering to her child, We can't afford it, honey. But maybe, just maybe, someone would step in and say, We can. Because that's what family does. That's what love does. It shows up in the cold December night and offers Christmas lights to strangers. Says yes when every logical part of your brain screams no. It takes chances on dumpster diving widows and their 6-year-old daughters. It builds restaurants and affordable housing and futures out of nothing but faith and hard work and the stubborn belief that maybe, just maybe, everyone deserves a Christmas miracle. Minju had learned something in the year since Dominic Santoro walked into her life. Life isn't about perfect choices or safe bets. It's about finding the people who see you, really see you, and choosing to be brave enough to be seen. It's about accepting help when you need it and giving help when you can. It's about building something beautiful in the middle of a hard world and protecting it with everything you have. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, it's about stealing Christmas lights from the right dumpster and meeting the man who'll spend the rest of his life making sure you never have to steal anything ever again. Minju looked up at her husband, her dangerous, complicated, surprisingly tender husband, and smiled. "Merry Christmas, Dominic." He kissed her forehead. "Merry Christmas, Bella." First of many. And it was. So what did you think about Minju and Dominic's story? Do you believe in second chances and unexpected love? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to tell us where you're watching from. We love hearing from our global family. If you enjoyed this story, hit that subscribe button because we drop a new can't miss story every single day. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Until then, remember, sometimes the best things in life come from the most unexpected places. Stay blessed, family.